Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So, temperature of the air after the compression is high enough, so that fuel is sprayed into the hot air and burns spontaneously. In this diesel cycle, you see these two processes, these are adiabatic processes, isentropic processes, and one is the isochoric process, one is the isobaric process. So, 4 processes, one isochoric, one isobaric and 2 isentropic. In Otto cycle, 2 isentropic and 2 isochoric processes. So, that is the only difference. Now, if you look at the actual process, this is a diesel engine and you can see this is the intake, compression, you inject the fuel, combustion happens and then exhaust takes place. So, in the intake process 1-2, this is the 1-2 process, air valve is opened, intake valve, okay. Piston moves out, that means from the TDC to BDC, so that air is admitted into the combustion chamber. Process 2-3 is the isentropic compression process, air is compressed by the piston and then it reaches the TDC. So, the volume is minimum, okay. So, all the valves are closed in this situation. And then 3-4 is the fuel injection and combustion. Fuel valve means fuel injector is opened, fuel is sprayed over the hot air because your pressure is and temperature of the air is high because of isentropic compression. So, then once you inject, the combustion takes place and at constant pressure and heat is released, and once the heat release is over, then piston expands, okay. So, the combustion products expand, do work on the piston which moves out to the maximum volume, okay, and then exhaust blow down. So, then exhaust blow down, exhaust valve is opened, exhaust blow down and pressure falls to the minimum level or the intake level, and then exhaust valve is open and then you are pushing the exhaust gases out physically by the movement of piston. So, these are the processes, and when we say diesel cycle analysis, again just like Otto cycle, we tend to ignore the intake and exhaust processes and we will just look at primarily this process. These are not really very significant for air standard analysis. So, this is what happens, in a diesel cycle. This is the compression process on a PV diagram and this is isentropic compression. So, you can see this is entropy remains constant. Once the entropy remains constant, the temperature increases, okay. And from this point you have two options. One is that either have heat addition at constant pressure or heat addition at constant volume. So, if you follow this line, this will be diesel cycle, Otto cycle. And if you follow this line, this will be diesel cycle. You are following, now we are talking of diesel cycle. So, we will follow this line, P equal to C, okay. So, here you see this process 2-3 is where the heat addition is taking place at constant pressure. So, this is the process, pressure remains constant and you reach certain maximum temperature. So, point 3 is where the temperature and pressure is the highest, both are the highest in the cycle. And then process 3-4 is the expansion process, which is nothing but isentropic expansion process. So, you have this isentropic process and the work is being done by the gases on the piston and useful work is being produced, okay. So, this is the WE, work going out, okay, work expansion work. And then process 4-1 is exhaust blow down, okay. So, this is the exhaust blow down process which is happening at constant volume, okay. So, you open the valve and here you see at constant volume exhaust blow down happens, okay. So, this is the whole cycle. So, in process 1-2 air is compressed reversibly and adiabatically, process 2-3 heat is added to the air reversibly at constant pressure, process 3-4 work is done by the air reversibly and adiabatically, and process 4-1 heat is rejected reversibly and at constant volume, and the cycle repeats, okay. So, now what we do is we will do the analysis for the diesel cycle, which is significantly different from the Otto cycle. So let's look at this. So here also V1 by V2 is R, compression ratio, just like the Otto cycle. But here you see there is another point that we have to define. This is point number 3. So the location, whether this is here, will actually dictate how the power output is from your engine. So we define another parameter which is called cutoff ratio, and this is defined as V3 by V2, and this is called as RC, and this is called cutoff ratio. Okay, this is compression ratio. Okay. So again, if you have to define the efficiency of this cycle, this will be 1 minus Q2 upon Q1. Q2 is the heat rejected and Q1 is the heat put into the system. Okay. So what we can write? 1 minus, what is Q2? M CV. What is Q2? Heat rejected is at constant volume, and heat supplied is at constant pressure. So you have to be careful here. So when you write Q2, this is MCV T4 minus T1. And what is Q1? Q1 will be MCP. Okay? T3 minus T2. Why CP? Because the pressure, the heat is being added in a constant pressure process. And CV upon CP, this is 1 by gamma. Cp upon Cv is gamma. So this you can write as 1 minus T4 minus T1 upon gamma T3 minus T2, right? So this is the expression for efficiency. Okay, and this I write as equation number 1. Okay, so in Otto cycle this gamma was not there, but in diesel cycle efficiency this gamma has come into the picture. If you look at process 1, 2, this is isentropic compression, and I can write the temperatures is as T2 equal to T1 into R to the power gamma minus 1. Is it not? So this is equation number 2. So when I am looking at process 1, 2, if I am looking at process 2, 3, I can write as 2, 3 is what? Isobaric process. Okay, pressure remains constant. So I can write as V2 upon T2 is equal to V3 upon T3, and therefore I can write it as T3 is equal to V3 upon V2 into T2. Okay, and therefore I can write T3 is equal to, what is V3 upon V2? This is RC. Okay, so this I can write as RC, and what is T2? T2 I can write from here, right? So I can write as T1 into R to the power gamma minus 1. So, so this is my expression for T3. This is my equation number 3. Okay. So now I have found what is T2. See, I want to simplify this. So in order to simplify, I have to remove T4, I have to remove T2, I have to remove T3. So I have written the expression for T2 in terms of T1 and gamma and R. I have written the expression of T3 in terms of RC, R, T1 and gamma. So now the only thing left is T4. So then I look at process number 3, 4, and I write T4 as T4 is equal to T3 into V4 upon V3 upon V4 to the power gamma minus 1. Okay. TV to the power gamma minus 1 is constant for isentropic expansion process. So I can write this as T4 is equal to T3 into I can write this as V3 upon V2 into V2 upon V4 to the power gamma minus 1, right. I have just multiplied and divided by V2, simple. And V3 by V2, now what I can write? Cutoff, this cutoff ratio. And V2 upon V4, what is V2 upon V4? This is V2 is this, V1, and this is the volume, maximum volume, and this is the minimum volume. So this I can write as compression ratio. Okay. So this I can therefore write as T4 is equal to T3 into this expression is RC into 1 upon R to the power gamma minus 1, right. And what I do, I know what is T3 from here, and I can expand this, and therefore I can write T4 is equal to RC, okay, into T1 into R to the power gamma minus 1 into RC to the power gamma minus 1 divided by R to the power gamma minus 1. So this is RC by R to the power gamma minus 1 written here. T3 I have written as RC into T1 into gamma R to the power gamma minus 1. I have just simply put the 3 in this equation, and I do some cancellations here and there. This is R to the power gamma minus 1, this cancels out with this. Okay. So finally I can write T4 is equal to T1, and this is RC to the power gamma minus 1. So I can write it as RC to the power gamma. So this is my expression of T4 in the form of RC and R and gamma. Now I have all the values. So what I do? I put everything in this expression, right. So then I can write this equation 1 as efficiency term is equal to 1 minus, what is T4? T4 is nothing but T1 RC to the power gamma minus 1 from this, minus T1 divided by gamma, that's written here, and then I have T3. T3 is RC into T1 into R to the power gamma minus 1, okay, minus the next is T2, and T2 is written here, T1 into R to the power gamma minus 1. So this I write T1 into R to the power gamma minus 1. So all these 4 terms as T1. So can I cancel that out? I can just take it out from all these 4. Okay, I cancel them out, and finally I write this expression as efficiency of diesel engine or diesel Otto cycle. This I can write as 1 minus RC to the power gamma minus 1 I think I have made a mistake here. So RC to the power gamma minus 1 divided by R to the power gamma minus 1 into RC minus 1 into gamma. So this gamma is outside, R to the power gamma minus 1 I take out, and what I am left with is RC minus 1. So this is a little complicated expression compared to Otto cycle, but this is how you actually define the efficiency of a diesel air standard cycle. Okay. So now one of the things that you have to understand is that if I define a parameter called K, okay, and I write as RC to the power gamma minus 1 upon gamma into RC minus 1. So this part. So then I can write this as efficiency of diesel engine is equal to 1 minus K by R to the power gamma minus 1. Okay? So this is one expression K. If I do binomial expansion of this, or if I do experiments, I can easily figure out that this value of K is always greater than 1. Okay? So what does it mean? That if I put the value greater than 1 here, if I put that 1, then it is Otto cycle efficiency. If greater than 1, then that means diesel engine efficiency will now be lower than gasoline engine efficiency. But the assumption here is that when I am taking compression ratio to be the same. So that means if you have two engines, one is diesel engine, the other one is gasoline engine, and both of them have same compression ratio, Otto cycle engine will give you higher thermal efficiency. But in real life, diesel engine always have higher compression ratio because they are not having a knocking limitation. And therefore, in real life, diesel engines always have greater efficiency compared to Otto cycle engines. But if you keep the compression ratios same, then obviously the Otto cycle efficiency will be higher than the diesel cycle efficiency. Okay? Another point that I would like to make is so the diesel cycle efficiency is 1 minus 1 upon R to the power gamma minus 1 into RC to the power gamma minus 1 divided by gamma into RC minus 1. Okay. So here one of the things that you have to see, what happens when you increase the compression ratio, what happens to the efficiency of a diesel engine? If you increase the value of R, what will happen? R is only here, this becomes higher, so the value of efficiency will go up. So efficiency of value of efficiency will go up. Cutoff ratio. If you increase the cutoff ratio RC, okay, there is cutoff ratio here with a 1.4 gamma on it, there is a cutoff ratio here. Okay. So the overall effect of this is that cutoff ratio increase leads to reduction in efficiency. What about gamma? If you increase gamma, what happens to efficiency? The efficiency of this diesel engine will also increase. So theoretically, if you use a working fluid with higher gamma, you will end up getting higher thermal efficiency. Okay. I'll just plot this here. So here you have the value of R compression ratio, and here you have the efficiency of diesel engine. Okay. So this is when RC is 1, and this is when RC is 2, and this is when RC is 3. So when RC is 1, what happens here? This will be Otto cycle efficiency. Okay? Because when RC is 1, that means this point will merge here. So this will become Otto cycle. Okay? So this is, if the RC changes, you can see that the efficiency is falling. range of RC is actually between 1. For a diesel engine it is between 1, because 1, if it is 1, then obviously 0.2 and 0.3 will merge, and it is less than the compression ratio, because when it is compression ratio, then 0.3 will be here. Okay? So RC value will always be between 1 and R. So RC is actually okay. So this is theoretically possible, only theoretically speaking this is possible. Okay. Now if you have to find out the net work output from a diesel engine, how you will find out? Because in Otto cycle we found two parameters. One was the network, expression for network, and the other one was mean effective pressure. So let's try to find out these two. So W net for diesel will be what? Will be, see, if you have to analyze this for network output, how do we find out network output in a diesel engine? We look at the cycle, and the area enclosed by this in a PV diagram is equal to the network output. Okay? So you have to find this area. So what you can actually do this, you can take this as one rectangle. So area below 2, 3 is 1 plus area below 3, 4 minus area below 1, 2. That will give you the net work done in a diesel engine cycle, right? That's what you can do. So you can write this expression for net work as, what is the area below point number 2 and 3? This is P2 and V3 minus V2, right? And add that to area below 3, 4. So you can write this as P3 V3 minus P4 V4 divided by gamma minus 1 minus the area below process 1, 2, which is P2 V2 minus P1 V1 upon gamma minus 1. Okay? You can write also, or write this W net as Q1 minus Q2, right? And then you can express this as, what is Q1? This is MCP T3 minus T2, right? What is the heat lost in the blowdown? This is MCV T4 minus T1, okay? Similarly, if you have to do mean effective pressure, what was the definition of mean effective pressure? It was W net divided by swept volume, right? So this you can write as W net divided by V1 minus V2, okay? Now your homework is that you please develop this expression just like we developed it for Otto cycle, and this is not one of the home assignments which I am going to grade. So please do it, and this is just a homework, you need not submit it, or maybe we can ask them to submit it. Okay, so just develop and see how it goes. Alright, so far it is clear, you will develop this. So I think this expression we have developed already. So the air standard cycle does not simulate exactly the PV variation of an actual CI engine, because here every process is ideal process. In a PV diagram which you draw from an experimental engine, is it shows the real processes which are not ideal, okay? So fuel injection is started before the end of the compression. So in real cycle we inject the fuel several degrees before the TDC. So real diesel engine does not really work on this cycle, okay? In real diesel engine you are injecting the fuel significantly before the end of the compression stroke. So, part of the heat is released in constant volume and part of the heat is released in constant pressure. So, if you look at the actual process, a better approximation of a diesel engine will not be a diesel cycle, it will be a dual cycle, where part of the heat is released constant volume, part of the heat released constant pressure. So, this cycle is called, you can call it by several names. It can be called as mixed pressure cycle, sometimes it is called mixed cycle, sometimes it is called diesel cycle. And here the processes are, this is isentropic compression, part of the heat is released at constant volume and part of the heat is released at constant pressure. And this is the cycle on a PV diagram. On a TS diagram, part of the heat is released here at constant volume and part of the heat is released at constant pressure. So, this is where it stands in diesel cycle. So, you see in a dual cycle, the air is compressed reversibly and adiabatically just like any other cycle. Process 2-3 is where the heat is added reversibly at constant volume. Process 3-4 is where the heat is added at constant pressure. So, instead of a 4-point cycle, now this will be a 5-point cycle, and process 4-5 where the heat is rejected or the work done is done, and 5-1 is where the heat is rejected. Okay, so, this will be a 5-point cycle and the heat addition will be, instead of 1 step, it will be 2 step, part in constant volume, part in constant pressure. Okay. So, if you have to analyze this, what changes? Basically the heat addition step will change, where part of the heat is added at constant volume and part of the heat is added at constant pressure. Okay. And then heat rejected remains the same. So, efficiency, if you have to define, you have to define the heat rejected, which is this one, divided by heat addition in this plus heat addition in this. Okay. So, this is the expression for efficiency. And here you see there is a compression ratio that is defined and a cutoff ratio that is defined. Okay. So, cutoff ratio, just like diesel engine, you define this cutoff ratio as V4 by V3. Okay, V4 by V3, just like same way as diesel engine. Okay. And this expansion ratio again you define as V5 by V4. So, expansion ratio you see here, this is the expansion ratio. Okay. So, in a way expansion ratio is directly related to cutoff ratio as well. Okay. So, if you develop these expressions, then finally you say that compression ratio is nothing but a multiplication of expansion ratio and cutoff ratio. So, you can arrange all these PV diagrams on your own. Okay. So, now this is the analysis. So, I think this you will proceed almost in the same steps, but the only thing is being that instead of a 1-step heat addition, now you are dealing with 2-step heat addition. So, maybe you can do all this development of the efficiency term, development of the network output term on your own in homework and see if you get this expression. So, do not look at these steps, try to develop it on your own, and if you reach and you get this step, that means you have understood the process well. Okay. So, now there are 3 cycles we have discussed. One is the basic cycle of Otto, which is applicable to SI engine, the other one is basic cycle of diesel. But if you look at little more detailed, diesel cycle really does not tell the story, complete story about diesel engine. So, we have developed another cycle which is a hybrid of SI and CI, part of heat is added at constant volume, part of heat is added at constant pressure, and we call it dual cycle. And in fact, diesel cycle is closer to dual cycle compared to diesel cycle as far as air standard cycles are concerned. So, if we compare, this is one question that is very often asked in all competitive exams, that you compare different types of cycles, which one is more efficient using a certain criteria. For example, if we say that if we want to compare these 3 cycles, Otto cycle, diesel cycle and dual cycle for the same compression ratio. So, same compression ratio means your 1 and 2 will be same for both, and if you want to draw a diesel cycle, so diesel cycle will be 1, 2, 7, 5, 1, right. If you say same compression ratio Otto cycle, so this will be 1, 2, 6, 5, 1. If you say dual cycle, then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, right. So, this is the dual cycle. So, this clearly shows just in a PV diagram, and this is the corresponding TS diagram, 5, 1, 2, 7, this is diesel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, this is dual, 12,651 is Otto cycle. So from this diagram itself, which one will be most efficient? You can clearly see the one which has the highest area, that will be more efficient. So that means if you are comparing Otto cycle and diesel cycle and dual cycle, for the same compression ratio, Otto cycle will be more efficient. So Otto cycle will be the most efficient, followed by the dual cycle, and diesel cycle will be the least efficient at same compression ratio. But suppose you say, okay, I don't worry about it, I want to limit the peak temperature or peak pressure, okay. I want to limit the maximum pressure, for example, and maximum temperature. Why I am limiting this? Because my material cannot take more than a certain pressure. I don't put a limit on the compression ratio, engine can have any compression ratio, but it should not breach, say, 2000 degree Kelvin. I don't have materials which can withstand 2000 degree Kelvin and 100 bar pressure. So then we compare. So if you look at this, so now I have put a limitation on this, you cannot go beyond this point, okay, and your temperature cannot go beyond this point. So then if you look at, if you draw the Otto cycle, so the Otto cycle will be 16451, diesel cycle will be 17451, and dual cycle will be 123451. Same here, okay, corresponding TS diagram. In this situation, which one will be most efficient? In this situation, the diesel cycle will be most efficient because it is occupying greater area. And obviously from the figure also you can see that since you have put limitation on peak pressure and peak temperature, the compression ratio of the diesel engine will be definitely much higher than the Otto cycle. Clear? So if a question comes where some limitation is put, what you will do is, you will draw these diagrams first separately, then you will see how we can put on, overimpose them, keeping that limitation in mind, and then see which area is the highest, that will be the most efficient engine. This way you will not be making any mistake, okay. So in this situation, when you have the maximum pressure and temperature, diesel cycle will be most efficient, followed by dual cycle, and then Otto cycle in this case will be the least efficient engine, okay. If you look at the deviation of actual cycle from the air standard cycle, so there are now, so far we have discussed only the air standard cycles where we have assumed that everything is ideal. But if you look at the actual cycle, it is very different. We have seen the shapes in the beginning. Why are there so many differences? That's because of the heat transfer effect. Heat transfer from the burnt gases where the temperature can be as high as 2000 degree Kelvin, they have significant effect on PV. Heat transfer takes place, heat loss happens, and then pressure also falls. Due to heat transfer during combustion, pressure at the end of the combustion in the real cycle will be relatively lower than what theoretically predicted, okay. Then during the expansion stroke, heat transfer will cause the gas pressure in the real cycle to fall below an isentropic expansion line as the volume increases, okay. The last thing that will happen is that there will be reduction in efficiency because of these heat losses. So Otto cycle will always over predict the thermal efficiency. In real life, that is your target that you can maximum achieve, okay. You try to go close to it, but you can never achieve that kind of cycles, okay. Then in the engine, in the air standard cycle, we assume that heat is instantaneously added, but in real life it takes time. So combustion typically starts 10 to 14 degree before TDC, and half of it is completed around 10 degree after the TDC, and it completes 30 to 40 degree after TDC. So if you look at combustion duration, in real engine this can be somewhere between 50, 60, 80, 90 degree depending on what load, how much fuel you have put in. But when we did the analysis of air standard cycle, what did we assume? That it is instantaneous, there is no time actually we gave. So therefore peak pressure occurs at 15 degree after TDC. In diesel engine, the burning process starts shortly after TDC. Pressure rises rapidly at the peak, and peak pressure in the cylinder is obtained 5 to 10 degree after TDC. In ideal cycle, we assume that peak pressure happens at TDC, okay. So initial rate of burning is fast, final stage of the burning is much slower, and combustion continues 40 to 50 degree after TDC. So the combustion also is intense in the beginning, and towards the later stage in the expansion, it is very slow. So you lose lot of heat, it doesn't get converted into work, okay. So the peak pressure in the engine is substantially below the fuel air cycle peak pressure, because combustion continues well after TDC when the cylinder volume is much greater than the clearance volume. When are we adding the heat in the air standard cycle? when you are at clearance volume, when the volume is minimum. In actual, you are still adding when the volume has expanded. So obviously the same energy will not have same effect because you have already expanded. It has to work on larger volume. So the effectiveness of the energy addition and push and the thrust that you get on the piston will be much lower in this case. So after the peak pressure, expansion stroke pressure in the engines are higher than fuel air cycle values in the absence of other loss mechanism, because less work is extracted from the cylinder gases. And then you have exhaust blowdown gases. So in the air standard cycle, we assumed that we open the exhaust right at the BDC. But in real engine, since exhaust blowdown process is also not an instantaneous process, it takes time. So you have to open it several degrees before the TDC is attained. So there also you have problem. So in real engine, exhaust valve is opened 60 degrees before the bottom dead center in order to reduce the pressure during the first part of the exhaust stroke in 4-stroke engine and allow time for excavenging in 2-stroke engine. So gas pressure at the expansion stroke is therefore reduced below the isentropic line, and this also lead to reduction in expansion stroke wall transfer results. And then in the engine you have crevice effects. What is crevice? Crevice is the space, because piston is always smaller than the bore, right? So there is a cylindrical volume. The air fuel mixture can enter before the combustion starts and the flames cannot enter. So during the expansion, all that fuel, unburned fuel, comes out into the exhaust. So it goes without burning. So that creates a lot of loss. So as cylinder pressure increases, gas flows into the crevice as regions between the piston ring, piston and cylinder walls. This crevice region can comprise a few percent of the clearance volume. So even 5-6% of the fuel air mixture, if it goes, that means your efficiency will be lower by 5-6% on the account of crevice volumes. This flow in the crevice reduces mass of the volume above the piston and is cooled by heat transfer to the crevice walls. In premix charge engines, some of this gas is unburned and some of it will not burn. So though much of this gas returns to the cylinder during the expansion stroke, but it doesn't burn, because then it's already cold conditions exist in the combustion chamber. And then there is an issue with incomplete combustion. There is always a finite time available for completion of combustion, and there are many issues. All the heat energy does not get released. 95% efficiency if you achieve in SI engine, that is great. 98% efficiency if you achieve combustion efficiency that you achieve in diesel engine, this is also great. That means 2 to 5% of the fuel energy goes without burning. Now first of all, you see, if you take an engine, for example, a spark ignition engine with a compression ratio of 8:1, okay, and you apply air standard cycle. So air standard cycle, we know that thermal efficiency of an engine only depends on one factor, and that is the compression ratio of the engine. We have done all that calculation, right? So if you just want to calculate the engine performance, for example, thermal efficiency using air standard cycle, you will get, air standard cycle is going to predict a thermal efficiency of the of 56.5%. If you look at the actual thermal efficiency, that will be close to 28%. So what does it mean? We are really over predicting and we are nowhere close to the actual situation. Why we are nowhere close? Because in actual engine there are many things that are happening, and in air standard cycle we have taken too many assumptions. What are those assumptions? For example, in actual cycle you have progressive burning of the fuel. And what did we assume in air standard cycle? We assumed that heat is added instantaneously. Actually in air standard cycle there is no combustion, it is just the heat transfer, because the working fluid composition is not changing and working fluid is just the air. In actual engine, what is the working fluid? Working fluid is air, fuel and air fuel mixture and residual gases from the previous cycle, right? So composition is also changing during the cycle itself. Initially it is just the air or the air fuel mixture, then when you do the intake it mixes with the fuel air mixture, you compress, combustion starts, fuel start burning. So then also the composition is changing, the gaseous composition is changing, the temperatures are changing, everything is changing, and nothing of that sort is taken into account by air standard cycle. Then in actual engine you have incomplete combustion of fuel, but in air standard cycle there is no such consideration. In actual cycle, there is a valve operation. So, intake valve opens and closes. It also takes finite amount of time. Gas exchange process takes a finite amount of time. In air standard cycle, we assume it to be instantaneous. Gas exchange is instantaneous. And so, we have basically, we have actually simplified the analysis by making a lot of assumptions which do not hold practical relevance. So, therefore, this is one reason why you are really over predicting the thermal efficiency using air standard cycle compared to actual air cycle. So, what can you do? Can you really introduce some elements of realism without doing experiments? Can you predict? So, the answer is yes, you can do that. And what you do is you do the analysis, something called fuel air cycle analysis. Okay. So, what does it mean? It means that unlike air standard cycle where the working fluid was just air and that also its properties were fixed, even the CP/Cv values were fixed, they were not changing with temperature. At least those parts you can introduce here. So, the working fluid in fuel air cycle is mixture of air, mixture of fuel vapors, okay, if it is a gasoline engine, or if it is diesel engine you are introducing and it is vaporizing, and then the residual gases from the previous cycle. See, we have discussed this, that when the exhaust stroke takes place, the piston goes all the way to the TDC, but still there is some clearance volume. Okay. What will be that filled with? So, it will be filled with exhaust gases. You cannot empty that exhaust gas. Okay. So, when you start going back down in the intake stroke, those gases will remain there. So, when the air comes in or the air fuel mixture comes in, it mixes. So, finally, at the BDC you will have the mixture of air, fuel and residual gases from the previous cycle, and that is what you take as the working fluid. Okay. So, now the working fluid properties will be very different from just the air as in case of air standard cycle. The second thing that the element of realism that you introduce is that the specific heat of the gaseous species that you may have in the engine combustion chamber, they vary with temperature. They do not remain constant. Remember, in air standard cycle we said that all the properties of the working fluid, which was the air, remains constant. It does not change with increasing temperature. And in engine cycle, we know that we experience temperatures from 20-30 degree to almost 2000 degree Kelvin. Okay. So, Cp and Cv values can be changing considerably. Then third thing is products of combustion. You know this, what is combustion? Combustion is nothing but an oxidation process, right? You have hydrocarbon fuel, you have oxygen. At high temperatures they combine and they give rise to the formation of carbon dioxide plus water vapor plus a whole lot of other species such as hydrocarbons, such as NOx, right? But then when the temperature becomes very high, what happens is that these reactions are not just forward moving reactions. When the temperatures become more than 1600 degrees centigrade, then these species, these reactions also start moving backwards. That means CO2 will get fragmented into carbon monoxide plus oxygen. Water vapor will get fragmented into OH radicals. Okay. Nitrogen will split into N plus N, molecular oxygen. So, these kind of species dissociation takes place at high temperature, and dissociation is a endothermic reaction. So, that means when you have high temperature and dissociation is taking place, it will lower the peak temperature. Okay. So, in real engines you will get the temperature which will be relatively lower than what you should actually get when you do not consider dissociation reactions. We will see that. Okay. Then the other element of realism that you introduce is that you introduce actual fuel properties, actual fluid properties. Okay. So, here you see in the air standard cycle we introduced only air, but here you will look at how much is the carbon dioxide, how much is the water vapor, how much is oxygen, how much is nitrogen in the working fluid, and those Cp, Cv and R values will be used in the fuel air cycle. Okay. So, this basically once you introduce all these elements of realism, the performance of your fuel air cycle will be very close to the actual cycle. Okay. So basically all these assumptions that you are making, they will bring the analysis closer to the actual engine operating conditions. Okay. So as I said, just to sum it up, working fluid is air fuel mixture, and then you see in if you look at the effect of air fuel ratio, you know, it is very important. If you look at air standard cycle, it doesn't matter what is air fuel ratio, you will get certain efficiency. But in fuel air mixture, fuel air cycle, air fuel ratio is extremely important. It affects the efficiency. Peak temperature, whatever is the peak temperature inside the combustion chamber, that's also going to affect your engine performance. Peak pressure inside the combustion chamber, that also is going to affect the performance. Okay. So fuel air cycle takes into account the following. First is, it takes into account the actual composition of the cylinder gases, which is fuel, air, residual gases, water vapor, etc. And then there is variation in specific heat. Specific heat in general increases with increase in temperature, except monoatomic gases. For most other gaseous species, if you increase the temperature, Cp and Cv value increases. Now what is the effect? Suppose I have certain degree of fuel, certain quantity of fuel I have put in. So that will release some amount of heat. So Q will be equal to mCp delta T, right? M remains same, M is not changing when you do the combustion reactions. Cp is going up because Cp, as the temperature increases, Cp value will increase. So what will happen? Delta T will reduce. Bottom temperature remains same, that means your top temperature will come down. So what it is saying is that suppose you don't assume the variation in specific heat. If you assume constant specific heat, then you get a higher peak temperature. When you assume variation, that means you will, for the same heat release, now in the analysis your peak temperature will be relatively lower. Is that clear? So specific heat in general increases with increase in temperature, and therefore it affects the engine performance. Then you have to take into account the dissociation, for example, presence of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, H radical, oxygen, etc. All right, I was just talking about the effect of dissociation. So when you have temperatures above 1600 degree Kelvin or about 1300 degree centigrade, you know, you have lot of species that are formed due to combustion, they dissociate. Okay, and dissociation is basically an endothermic reaction, so it will also reduce the temperature. Then the other thing is that if you look at the number of molecules, see in air standard cycle we took the air, there was no combustion, number of moles remains same, mass of course remains same. In this case the mass of the content, cylinder content remains same, but the number of mole changes. For example, if you just take petrol is C5H12, suppose I take it as C5H12 or I take it as isooctane C8H18, I react it with oxygen. So C8H18 plus O2 plus N2 3.76 N2 equal to CO2 plus H2O plus nitrogen. So if you look at the reactant number of moles and product number of moles, they will be different. So what does it mean? It means that when the combustion takes place, the number of moles inside the combustion chamber actually changes. And when the number of mole changes, and this is all in vapor phase, what will happen? The pressure will rise, right? Because they have to occupy some space. So variation in number of moles, it depends on fuel air ratio and temperature and pressure after the combustion. And this is also going to affect the performance of the engine. Okay. So there are many assumptions, just like air standard cycle, we made a lot of assumptions and we idealized everything. Now the assumption, there are some assumptions here also. So first assumption, of course, all the elements of reality cannot be introduced because there are limitations. You want to capture the behavior of the engine combustion in set of equations or in set of data or tables that are available to you, but not everything can really be captured by set of equations which are reasonably simple to understand. If you make your model very, very complicated, you can take all these things into account also, and that's where the very complicated modeling of the engine comes into the picture. Okay. So just limiting our discussion to only fuel air cycle, the assumptions are no change in air and fuel prior to combustion. So basically fuel and air composition remains same. before the combustion, and just after the combustion charge is always in chemical equilibrium. That means the rate of destruction of species is equal to rate of formation of species, and their chemical composition is more or less frozen once the combustion is over. In reality that may not be the case, okay, but we assume this because it's very difficult otherwise to take into account. Then we assume that cylinder walls are adiabatic and there is no heat transfer taking place. There is no heat exchange between the gases and the cylinder wall. In real life we know that heat exchange does take place, there is nothing called adiabatic, okay. Then compression and expansion processes in the engine are frictionless, okay. This is the assumption because we can't really capture the friction in simplified models such as fuel air cycle, but in real life we know that friction will be there and it is going to affect the combustion or the analysis of the engine. And then we also assume that there is no fluid motion inside the cylinder, okay. We also assume that fuel is vaporized and completely mixed with the air. We also assume that combustion takes place instantaneously at top dead center when the piston is at constant volume. But in real life we know that combustion is a process which is spread over few crank angle degrees, so there is no way you can really say that it is only constant volume combustion. It starts before you reach TDC and it continues well after TDC, okay. So these are some of the assumptions that you take even in fuel air cycle, okay. So you have improved from the air standard cycle, but you know that all these are going to make it different from actual cycle, right. So air standard cycle, in air standard cycle we know that none of these parameters actually affect the analysis. The efficiency or the performance of the engine is only affected by compression ratio and nothing else, right. In fuel air cycle on the other hand, there is effect of fuel air ratio in addition to compression ratio. There is inlet pressure and inlet temperature. All these also affect the performance of the cycle. In the fuel air ratio and compression air ratio are extremely important parameters for fuel air cycle, okay. So there are other parameters such as what is the peak pressure, what is the exhaust gas temperature, what is the peak temperature inside the combustion chamber, and they can be estimated, and they are estimated to be close to the actual value in fuel air cycle. If you look at air standard cycle, all these parameters will be relatively much higher, but with fuel air cycle you can really reach closer to the actual temperatures that you encounter in an engine.